Yeah, that's true. And again, that we just need to go from that to now to taking these actions to shut it down. The other thing that's amazing, the NATO position, is that Sarkozy, this tin pot dictator in his own right, depraved. The story of this guy could not be told without violating the FCC rules. They say they refuse to negotiate. The Libyan government says, "Come and negotiate. We'll be glad to negotiate with you for no preconditions." And the answer of the British and the French is no negotiations. And as the bishop here pointed out, dialogue is the daily bread of the Arab and the Bedouin. It is the characteristic feature of this civilization that there's a constant process of negotiating everything. It's a kind of a deeply rooted cultural tendency. And instead, what NATO is saying is, no, we don't want any of that. Now, let me just, another scene, right?
Well, what they're saying is your fate is sealed. We're going to come in and destroy your industrial base and carry out our soft-kill genocide against you. And they're saying you have no hope, we're coming, and that's going to form total resistance while a bunch of globalist Bilderberg Group people sit around playing God, destabilizing North Africa, Middle East, Central Asia, more troops building up in and around Pakistan. There's no doubt this is leading into World War III. Give us one more scene.
The tableau, a ship arrived in the harbor here in Tripoli yesterday. It's a beautiful harbor. It looks kind of like Baltimore, but much newer. And this is a city of more than 2 million people. It's the size of what? Almost Chicago. It's a very large and modern compared to Tunis. It's much more modern. And people that I've talked to here who have been here 5 years ago, 10 years ago, are marveled by how many new buildings and the horizon is covered with cranes. Buildings are going up everywhere. The oil money is being used, and to a certain significant degree, it's being used wisely. So here comes the ship. The ship is coming from Benghazi, and it's carrying refugees. What kind of refugees? Refugees fleeing the terrorist regime. People who don't want to be in Benghazi anymore, and they don't want to have any more grief with these terrorists. So they come into here, and they get off the ship. And here you got, I saw, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, the whole media scrum was there. I saw the woman who was the correspondent of the first program of French television comes in there, and she tries to find a woman who's got an Islamic burqa on, right, with this, complete coverage. And what she's trying to do is to say that it's those fundamentalists that leave Benghazi and come to be with Gaddafi, which is absolutely, it makes no sense. It's the reverse.
So you're witnessing the corporate media trying to frame it like, ooh, al-Qaeda's with Gaddafi.
They're trying to score points against Gaddafi any way they can, even if it's a total absurdity. And these press whores on this dock, they have nothing but contempt for the human suffering of the people on that boat who have been forced to flee.
Well, they're horrible people that have sold their souls to be part of the system. They're the most vapid. I've met them. They're just vapid, gibbering, giggling scum who are going to have all their money taken by the bankers. Don't worry, you little servile snakes. Your masters are going to really give you some of the same stuff you're giving these North Africans.
And so, therefore, it's time to put an end to the power of these little Goebbels, right? These little slime balls of the press, and simply the spell is broken. Nobody can believe them. They're fools, buffoons. They're just idiots. So, I think this is pretty clear cut. There would be much more to say about the dynamics of these terrorists and how they work. NATO is violating the UN resolutions like mad. They're flying in weapons. They have flown in a plane into western Libya with special weapons on board. They're trying to seize the area along the Tunisian border. They're, of course, operating in the sort of the middle northern part of the country, especially from Benghazi towards the west. This one top terrorist by the name of Hassadi had been the boss of Darna, and he'd gotten himself into the world press, and they got embarrassed about him, so they shipped him out to Egypt, but they seem to have brought him back to Misurata. Now, if you look at that battle in Misurata, that is the site of one of the biggest steel mills in Africa, one of the biggest industrial plants in any Arab country. watch Misurata, and the Libyans are saying that they think that the city of Misurata, the rebels there, are going to get wiped out. But a couple of things about the terrorists. Inside this Benghazi rebel council, you have a rivalry. There are two people who are supposed to be the top military honchos. You have the guy called Yunus and this other guy called Haftar. Haftar was the one who was in Northern Virginia. Yunus had been a minister in one of Gaddafi's government. So they fight about precedence, right? Who's going to be the top commander? And the way they do it is you have a unit of rebels out in the field here, and then a couple of miles away you've got a unit commanded by Haftar. So Yunus has got his group, and Haftar's got their group. One of the ways that these NATO atrocities happen is the Haftar group calls in, and they call in NATO airstrikes on the Yunus group, both rebels, both terrorists, and the Yunus group does the same thing to the Haftar group. So one of the reasons NATO is killing the rebels is because one rebel group is getting NATO to bomb their rivals and their competition and getting them killed that way. And
all right, Webster, stop there. I want to leave Tripoli now and look to Europe and the United States. In a short segment coming up, I want to look at the huge global financial meltdown that's happening, the death of the euro. Well, we'll get updates from Webster Tarpley in the days to come, as long as the phone lines are up. They've been down from the peace bombs that are being dropped. Webster also said they're not seeing the helicopters as promised. Only drone helicopters have been shot down because there are so many RPGs in the citizens' hands. And again, dictators don't hand out RPGs and millions of Kalashnikovs to a population of 6 million. This is so outrageous. But they are going ahead with the ground war because the globalists, again, have to just sell the fact that they can do whatever they want, whenever they want. When do the Libyans believe the ground invasion's coming? Our confirmed intel is late September, early October, Webster.
This part of their thinking is maybe not so obvious. I mean, what we have tried to convey is the stuff that's in the public domain, thanks to your work and others, right? What is widely known is also known here. So I guess they would converge on that, and in some ways they really wonder if the ruling elite of the United States is that insane. On the other hand, they've had plenty of lessons that they are that insane, that kind of a fight forward is exactly what they're likely to do. There's a kind of calm waiting going on, right, saying we hope that they're not that insane, but if they really are, then we're pretty much ready. The people are organized, the tribes are mobilized, the system of government by town meeting as one.
What do they think of Obama now, the great peace god, lovingly giving them bombs?
That basically his magic, right? His deception act is finished, right? That racket is over with for about 99%, and the people who still want to give Obama the benefit of the doubt have actually been defecting, as one official here told us. He said, we had some rats in our government. We had rats that had gotten into the government over a period of 40 years, and one of the advantages of all this horror is that the rats are now gone, so there won't be any need to deal with the rats anymore. Okay, Webster, we're almost out of time. Shifting gears now. Greece Deputy Prime Minister warns of tanks in the streets, mass suicides if second payoff to the bankers doesn't happen. He warns Greek Parliament. London Telegraph, Greek minister warns of catastrophe if parliamentary revolt leads to austerity bill being blocked. Continuing, European leaders prepare for Greek default. Enter the dragon to save the euro. The Chinese are publicly saying apathetic. England is. Italy government tensions rise over austerity plans there. There's a threat to get rid of the U.S. AAA rating if they don't give trillions more to the bankers. So we're seeing the economic terrorism of the banking cartel if people don't raise taxes, cut benefits, and pay everything to the fraudsters. And now Soros is saying it looks like the euro may collapse. That's in Bloomberg. What does that mean, Webster Tarpley, in the 3 minutes we've got left? Well, again, the only way to make the dollar look good is to make the euro look very bad. And that's the attack on the euro by U.S. hedge funds using credit default swaps has been going on now for more than a year and a half, getting to be almost 2 years. I would recommend for the Greeks no more bailouts, no austerity program. Austerity doesn't work. That's what Papandreou found.
Well, it's meant to shut their economy down, and they've done the actuaries and say if we do this, we'll never get out of the fraudulent debt that you created. So it's third worldom they're delivering to them.
And therefore, what they need is a debt moratorium. They need to declare an immediate unilateral freeze on all payments of debt, principal, and interest, with the goal of reducing it by, the maximum amount possible. If they can get it, minus 90%, they should do that. But the only way you can successfully negotiate with a banker is to put yourself on an equal footing. These bankers are, of course, zombie bankers. The irony of the whole thing is that those bankers themselves are more bankrupt than Greece. And the people that get the bailout is not going to Greece. No Greek gets any money out of this. It goes to the Deutsche Bank, 50 billion euros, the French banks, 30 billion euros, and the British banks, maybe 20 billion euros. So this complete monstrosity. There's nothing wrong with the Greeks. They were simply victimized by a cabal of hedge funds with Soros and the rest of them using credit default swaps.
And they now admit that it's going to move on to Italy, Portugal, England, the United States, and it's it's a black hole. There's no way to ever pay it back, but it consolidates power for the criminals, so they're rampaging forward.
It's a physical impossibility to pay it back. So why not just face the physical impossibility and say, there's no point in ruining the country trying to do something that is prima facie impossible. Therefore, we're essentially going to freeze this debt with a view to canceling it at the earliest possible opportunity.
Well, Webster, we want to commend your amazing courage. They're now admitting that we never came out of the recession, so the truth is starting to dawn here. You're in Tripoli. Go with God. Be safe. We appreciate you there being a reporter and somebody to observe the reality of what happened. And be safe, Webster. Hopefully you can pop back in with us again tomorrow.
Precisely. That's what I'd hope to do. Let's try to find a little slot, and we'll give you an update.
All right, Tarpley.
See what happens tonight. Maybe NATO will come back tonight at the hour of the wolf.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. Tarpley.net. Stay with us. Wayne Madsen.